You, which can be the free member or a paid member. You have to be, the contest starts May 15th and goes through June 15th. And the contest that I'm managing is that you create either a wardrobe for somewhere you're really going or somewhere you would like to go, but it has to be a real destination. Like you can't say you're going to Middle Earth or to the moon. The contest says that, I know, I'm the boss, I have to make up the rules, or I make part of the rules. The contest is that you create, well, the contest is that there are 6 garments, 4 of which you sew, 2 that you could purchase, and then you need to show that you can make them into at least 5 combinations. So when you do the contest, you write reviews about 4 patterns. You can muslin and test your pattern before the start date of the 15th, but you can't start sewing until the 15th because you know Google's there watching you to see if you're actually sewing in the middle of the night. All of this year, so 4 weeks to produce 4 garments, and you have to write about them and then include details of where your travel location is and why you picked those. So you can have a jacket as one of your items, but you cannot use outerwear like you would sew a coat in a week, because a coat would just be too easy to add to any outfit to make that combination. Scarves can be used in your pictures to show your combinations, but scarves and accessories don't count as one of the 4 items. And this one was done 2014. So the winners, one of them was going on a cruise and did a cruise wardrobe. One of them was going to Savannah. But there are people that were going to other countries as well. It's very interesting pulling together that travel wardrobe of what you're doing.
How do you verify what year we sewed the garment?
You don't. It's all based on trust, and you know, it's all, the winners are chosen by pattern review members. That you go in and you vote for the best ones, or the ones that you like. The thing I love about pattern review is it shows real people wearing real clothes, not models on the front of the pattern magazines. So you can see for your body type, is that person of my body type? Does it look good? Sometimes patterns that I never would have picked, I see how somebody did that amazingly, and it was a simple pattern or whatever they did. So I love pattern review, and I've signed up to be a contest manager. So I encourage everybody to join pattern review, like I said, even for the free, to use it as inspiration to pull together a travel wardrobe. And even though I'm the manager, it won't matter that I know you because it's pattern review members that do the voting. So I have a handout for top stitching. Let you pass those around. And I decided to take a little bit different take on top stitching because I figured you'd all done top stitching, you kind of know how it works. I wanted to go with top stitching inspiration, Seymour Addison. It's a really simple woven tank top. And so to make it more interesting, all they did was take the collar and draw some diagonal lines, cut off the bottom of the pattern, made it a facing, and did the top stitching on that and then reattach it back. Before I make any pattern, I check pattern review to see what people say about it, and everybody said this pattern, the darts are in the wrong place. And so if they're in the wrong place for everybody, that's kind of odd because we're all not all shaped the same. And sure enough, they were also in the wrong place for me. I think some of it has to do with, because it's a woven and trying to fit it over your head and it doesn't stretch, that the back neck is scooped out very large, and so it tends to throw the shoulders in the wrong place without fitting it up a little bit more. So if you muslin that, that would be something to look at. I did bring up the back neck anyway, and I also, because I have short shoulders, I brought in the sleeves. And then I
you did put a dart.
Yes, it does have a dart. It does have a dart. Now it's in the right place. So one of the things that, as they go through the how-to, is that she is doing silk charmeuse. This is a rayon, probably from the fabric stash, who knows, because it was an inexpensive test piece. But one of the first things they say is whenever you're doing your top stitching is you want to think about stabilizing it, because just the act of doing that much stitching draws up the fabric, and that you want to create it as stable as possible. So one of the negatives of using like an embroidery stabilizer is that you want to get rid of it, and with this much top stitching to have to tear it out would, I think, stress it. So the options that they suggest are, well, one, and then I added some more, is to use starch. So I've given you some cost comparisons that starch costs like $1.77 from Walmart. This is Magic it's the brand that Maggie had always recommended, but all the quilters I know that this is the best brand to use. One of my friends teaches beginning quilting, and when I was visiting her in Singapore, the quilts could actually stand up by themselves. They had so much starch in them. So that whenever you're teaching somebody new or it's a slippery fabric, to put a lot of starch in it really helps stabilize it, and it makes sewing so much easier. So again, just if you're having a problem with your fabric or a new sewer, I highly recommend for them to get fabric starch.
Does it tend to work well for any fabric? I mean, I know that you're
Yes.
probably gonna say, well, be sure and test it, but
Yes, well, I mean, I did it on the rayon and it was fine, and I've done it on knits and it worked really well. So I'm going to pass around these samples of the different kinds of I tested. So this is what the fabric felt like just playing with interfacing in it, and it's a tricot interfacing, so it's very, very soft. I have it written on the edge, but it's ingrained, so you might not be able to read it. So one of them is just the starch. This is the premium starch. One of them is Sullivan's, which I'll show you. And then the other one is Terrell Magic.
I can't believe the difference in prices.
Yes, so Sullivan's fabric stabilizer, again, the negative of this is that you get a really alcohol smell with Sullivan's. I felt that it does work. It does stiffen the fabric. You'll feel that.
Markita, does the faultless starch wash out?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
You don't want that.
No, you don't. So it washes out. And,
And it doesn't beat up either when you're ironing.
Right.
You have some of the.
You have
the
to let
older-
it soak for just a second. You
Well,
can't.
make me my iron, because I don't let it soak. I go like that and I go over it.
Yeah, I tend to let it dry a little bit first before I iron it.
Yeah, see.
The only other thing is that because it is a starch, it is a food product, you wouldn't want to starch your fabric and then store it for 4 years because it does attract bugs, because it starches a food. I didn't put Best Press in here. That's the positive of Best Press, is that it's not a food. The negative of Best Press, I think, is some of the colors actually bleed, especially the green. So I would never buy the green Best Press. So Terrell Magic, whenever we were in Puyallup, I went to a talk from the designer of this. It is, again, a food-based product, and you do it a little bit differently than you would apply it for other things. So what you do is you put it in a bag and you spray it until it's all wet, and then you let it dry about 10 or 15 minutes before you iron it. And you press it with just a dry iron, and it gives it a fabulous texture. It doesn't really smell. It washes out, so you can feel the top. It is super soft back to its original, and I had it very, very stiff whenever I was putting the top stitching on.
So out of the three, you like that one the best, would you say?
I did,
Overall?
Okay. And the quantities, you can buy it by the gallon, which makes it even cheaper. The starch, it would have taken a lot more layers of it to get that stiffness,
Oh, okay.
but it's also $2. I mean, I buy it and go through it like crazy. So what you can't compare is how much the size of it to how much fabric it would do. Does that make sense?
Right.
They say that this will stiffen 4 to 5 yards. So there's not really a good comparison, because I don't know really how much it would stiffen on the rest of those. But
Is that the same stuff that they use for machine embroidery?
Yes.
Stitching?
Yes.
I mean, the
Oh,
tear-
this,
the tear.
you can use it for machine embroidery as well. She also did, she has a bunch of patterns that she uses fabric to make flowers and that you would never wash it out. The other thing the reason that she created this is that the cutting machines, the Cricut and the Silhouette, I had a really hard time cutting fabric just using starch. And so she designed this to be able to cut the fabric, so stiffen it enough that those blades go through the woven fabric. So to me, that was the other reason I think this is great, because if you're cutting out appliques with your cutting machine, this is great. And then it washes out.
When you made your blouse, and you used the terrell or
Yes,
whatever,
I did.
did you just take your whole piece of fabric and get a big
No,
bag
I'd cut out the pattern piece before and just put the pattern pieces in the bag.
Oh.
Now, did you cut out the pattern pieces a little larger, though? Because
No, I didn't.
No.
There was no shrinkage.
Yeah, I had no shrinkage.
All that top stitching.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So,
Interesting.
if you sew chiffon, what would you recommend, gel or starch?
I mean, I would give it a try. I mean, I'm impressed with this. I ordered it on Amazon. I mean, there were other places that you could buy it from. I think Create for Less had the cheapest price, so you could just Google and see where you can get it. I don't know of anybody locally that's carrying it.
Bernina does.
Bernina does. Okay, so there are places that you can find it.
Who is manufacturing?
It got bought out by one of the big companies, but it's under Terrell Arts. I forgot who the big company was that bought her out, but now that she's. So the other thing is, and I think in those samples, it was going around, I was trying to test what thread and what stitch length. To me, I just think of top stitching as having a fairly, like a 3.5 inch stitch length. But David Coffin on doing shirts says that your top stitching should be like at a 2.5. So those were my samples of trying to decide what color. So I have this silvery metallic thread, and you can see and look at that sample like that the space between the stitches disappeared. And so it looked like almost a solid silver, and that really wasn't the look I was going for.
Although it's very pretty if you wanted to use that.
Right. And then I tried the jeans thread, just, made by Coates and Clark. It's that heavy duty. It comes in a bunch of colors that you can get. So I tried that, because I had a denim look, but I decided I wanted something a little softer. So in one of my somewhere, I can't remember, I was somewhere and had a packet that Superior Threads had this glow in the dark thread. So that top stitching is actually glow in the dark. So I can't wait to try it out. But I thought that would be fun. Can you imagine like walking down the street and just seeing those little zigzag lines?
I love that.
Like a ghost.
So Terrell Arts, I will also send around this brochure. This kind of talks about some of the other projects that they have. And then I don't know if any of you are on Spoonflower's website or their mailing list. They had some interesting new products, so I brought that one along. And then for those of you that like to make handbags or other things, we have a new Tandy that is so close in Allen. So it is just right off of McDermott and 75. It's a huge store. They were having some growing pains the first day I went in there. They didn't know what the price of anything was. But so all of their specials, and I can't wait to December whenever all the leather goes on sale to go shopping there. But if you need any kind of purse accessories, edges, Tandy's a great place to get them. And now you have a really close place to go shopping there. So any other now that you know how to use Pinterest, follow the guild. I've just put another board out on, I was at Austin Food and Wine Festival, watching people is great. And this one girl had the cutest sleeveless dress that buttoned down the back. So I got enamored with buttons in the backs of garments. So I have a whole board now on buttons in the backs.